John, can you double check? Yeah, okay, good. Thank you.
Started. Let's call the roll.
Right. Nathan is not here. Omari Davis.
Here.
Dan Dreyer.
Here.
Robert Dunca.
Here.
Andrew Fackler.
Here.
Alex Foster and Carmela Hammer excused. Greg Hanley.
Here.
Jerry Laporte.
Here.
Joan Lawrence and Rebecca Meyer are excused. Katie Myers.
Here.
Mark Turnbull. Andy Wenchel.
Here.
And Dick Woodruff.
Here.
We have a quorum.
And welcome to the February 18th, 2026 Historical Affairs and Landmark Review Board meeting. Effective July 1st, 2024, updated state legislation requires certain county board appointed commissions, including the HLRB, to have an in-person forum to conduct its monthly business. HLRB hearings are provided in a hybrid environment, both in person and streamed online. Members of the public may attend and participate either virtually or in person. For members of the board joining us virtually this evening, please join us via the Microsoft Teams link. Please keep your device muted until you would like to speak, but ensure your video is turned on and you are visible during the entire meeting. For members of the public joining us this evening, today's meeting is available to stream from the website via Microsoft Teams link. There is also a dial-in phone option for those who wish to use it. Please keep your device muted and video turned off until you are called upon to speak. For public speakers who have pre-registered, please wait until you are called upon to speak. For those who have not pre-registered, requests for public speaking can still be submitted. Staff will do their best to accommodate those requests. However, we cannot guarantee that they will be met. Speaker slips are available at the front of the room for in-person speakers who have not pre-registered. Public comment is only allowed for items advertised on the HLRB's agenda. The ability to sign up to speak will no longer be available after the HLRB chair has stated that public testimony. All public comments will be shared verbally for the record during the assigned public testimony period. The meeting chat should not be used for discussion, written comments, questions about agenda items, for more information. You may use the chat for technical assistance. All voting will be done by a call of the roll. Lastly, this is a public forum. Today's meeting will be recorded and posted to the site and the County Commission's meeting YouTube page. Avoid sharing any personal information that you would not like to use. All information associated with today's meeting, whether written or spoken, is subject to Freedom of Information Act requirements. Right. Okay. All right. Right along. To the approval of the January. Does anyone have any comments? I have a motion to approve the minutes.
I move that we approve the January 2026 minutes.
I'll second that.
Please respond yes if you approve the January 2026 minutes. Omari Davis.
Yes.
Dan Dreyer.
Yes.
Robert Dunca.
Yes.
Andrew Fackler.
Yes.
Greg Hanley.
Yes.
Jerry Laporte.
Yes.
Katie Myers.
Yes.
Andy Wenchel.
Yes.
And Dick Woodruff.
Yes.
Right, the motion carries.
Okay, we're moving on to the consent agenda. Anyone have any questions?
I'd like to ask of the consent agenda item for the addition be put on the regular calendar.
Okay. Do you want to just make that motion?
I'm sorry, I don't think you need a motion for that. It's just a request.
To add it to the discussion. Probably we do, but I think we would, if the other ones go today, then I could go ahead to approve whatever remains on the agenda and we can move on to the discussion.
Okay, we'll do that. Okay, does anyone have any questions or comments on item 2? Okay, so I'm going to move that we approve consent agenda item number 2.
Second.
Okay, Please respond yes if you support the motion. Omari Davis,
Yes.
Dan Dreyer,
Yes.
Robert Dudka,
Yes.
Andrew Fackler,
Yes.
Gray Hanley,
Yes.
Jerry Laporte,
Yes.
Katie Myers,
Yes.
Andy Wenchel,
Yes.
and Dick Woodruff.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Okay, great. Okay, so we'll move on to discussion of item 1, and I believe a little.
Before I go into the presentation, I just want to say that for the other project for 3412 21st Avenue North, your item has been approved. And if you are joining us virtually, you can enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks for being here. I will contact you tomorrow after project. And if the applicants are here for 2342 North Fillmore, Eric Hurt, you are here. There may be some questions for you, so we would just kind of stay on the line as we go through our presentation for your project. Thanks.
Will do, yes.
Awesome, thank you. Here we go. Okay, so ignore the consent agenda item title. This one. And we'll go ahead and go into this. So the HLB are going to be looking at this project on 2342 North Fillmore Street, which is located in Maywood. This is for COA 2603. The project, the house that we are looking at was built pre-1923 and is contributing to the local historic district. The HLB approved multiple COAs for this property, including an in-ground pool and fence in 1998, a retroactive approval to install new wood windows in 2009. And then going all the way back to 1993, there was an early denial for the installation of exterior vinyl shutters. So just to kind of give you some general understanding of what's happened on this property in the past. So tonight, the HLB are considering this proposed project for a rear addition and renovation to the dwelling that includes remodeling a first floor bathroom, rearranging interior partitions on the second floor, adding a new primary suite on the second floor, and enlarging a second floor front bedroom. This is kind of my general summary of this, but I want to go ahead and just start scrolling through the project so you can see we have some floor plans of the work that's being done. What I think is going to be most helpful for people, even though I know you've already done your homework, all of the materials that we sent you. Here are the elevations of the work. So the existing plans here show what the house looks like right now. And then the proposal is yes, that's correct. Proposed changes, go ahead and come down. So you can see this is the existing of the house. This is the rear part, and then what you're seeing here in the shaded area is showing what is going to be built, as well as some changes here. What's really going to be helpful is the 3D modeling. I'm just going to leave that up here so I can just finish my presentation for you all. So the renovation project will involve constructing 2 new gable roof dormers with one each being on the north and south elevations of the roof pitch near the front of the dwelling to allow for a new second floor primary suite. Dormers are proposed to have new wood casement windows with 3/4 simulated divided lights. The north side elevation and the second story will have a new cross gable roof near the rear of the dwelling that would contain a new wood double hung windows with 12/1 simulated divided lights. We're just going to scroll up so you can see what the rear is. The west rear elevation of the second story will have a new cross gable roof with 2 adjoining front gable dormers that will contain new wood casement windows with 2/6 simulated divided lights. The south side elevation of the second story will have a new cross gable roof near the rear of the dwelling that would contain new wood double hung windows with 12/1 simulated divided lights. All of the new dormers would be clad in wood shingle siding, and the roof and dormer roofs would be clad in architectural asphalt shingles. So the DRC provided a preliminary review. I'm just going to go back up to my amazing summary. They had a preliminary review of the application in January, their January 7th, 2026 hybrid meeting. The DRC was supportive of the addition design and primarily asked that the applicant shade areas of the previous additions on the plans and clarify what changes were proposed. And then HPP staff requested more detail on the exterior materials, window specifications, and roofing, and confirm the applicant's experience with historic properties. That goes to some of our conversations we had in December. Staff also reminded the applicant that any changes after COA approval would need to return to the HLRB. The project returned for formal review by the DRC at the February 4th, 2020 hybrid DRC meeting. As suggested, the project team updated the plans to show shaded areas indicating existing improvement conditions and added street view photo paired with the 3D renderings of proposed changes. We're going to toggle back to that. We want to show the hard work that they did. And the plans showing some of what the details are of the house. And I really, again, appreciate 3D modeling, which we often request architects to do. Which is wonderful. They also include material specifications for shingles, cedar siding, and wood windows. And the front dormers were redesigned to sit lower on the roof to improve interior space and allow egress compliant windows. The DRC supported the revised proposal and requested no further changes, placing the project on the consent agenda. So going into staff's recommendation, we recommend that the approval of the application as submitted. We find the size, massing, and design of the front dormers and the second story rear addition appropriate and consistent with the Maywood design guidelines. Post work would have minimal visibility from the public right of way, although the rear first story section is an earlier addition with an unknown construction date. Additions are common and acceptable in Maywood with several recent examples in the neighborhood. Proposed materials meet the Maywood guidelines and are considered appropriate. Cedar shingle siding aligns with guidance for exterior renovations and is used elsewhere in the district. Architectural asphalt shingles are also acceptable in Maywood. The use of wood windows complies with the guidelines and reflects the preferred window type in the local district, and the proposed simulated divided lights and window patterns are compatible with the house's architectural style and existing fenestration. Lastly, HPP staff find that proposed work would comply with the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation standard number 9. That's the conclusion to the staff report.
Okay. Does anyone on the DRC want to add anything?
Well, we thought it was a very well designed project. Covered pretty much with what staff has just detailed.
Okay, thank you. Jared, do you?
Yeah, the reason I asked is because
Sorry, Jerry.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have the applicant.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Eric, is there anything that you would like to add to what we've mentioned so far about the project, or anything you'd like to clarify?
No, I think that summarizes it quite well. I'm interested to hear what the commentary is.
Thank you.
Sorry, Jerry.
Okay. Your turn, Jared.
yeah, the reason I've been on the HLRB for 25 years, and I don't remember ever a project of this scale being put on the consent agenda. And I think as a matter of policy, projects of this scale should be reviewed by the entire HLRB. And then the staff report didn't give any reason. I mean, if it were a question of whether we didn't have enough time or something like that, frequently the staff reports will say why it's on the consent agenda because but the staff report didn't say anything about why it's on the consent agenda. So I just think, if nothing else, even if it's a model project, the HLRB as a whole should be aware that we do get model projects every once in a while. And we shouldn't only get the problematic ones, we should also see the good ones. So I don't have any problem with the project. It's just a question of could somebody illuminate why a project of this scale would be on the consent agenda?
I think I disagree because I think it's been the policy for a long time to we've been putting projects like this. I'm pretty sure this is I think one of the things about this project is that it's very cohesively designed, but it's actually not that big a project. It's the second floor of the back of the structure and some dormers on the front. It's actually a relatively small project that is very well designed. So, so it seems maybe for that reason, it seems very cohesive with the original structure. But I think I'd be pretty sure we've put many projects like this on consent. It's been, and I think, but I take your point because there was a time, maybe not in the last few years, when we had very full agendas at HLRB, and going through each one of these projects, in front of the HLRB was taking up all the time. And so we put them on consent so that it freed up time for the full board to consider other things. And it's worked really well, I think, for the last 15 years or so. So I'm a little puzzled as to why you think projects like this weren't on consent. I think, but again, if it's something that would be, and also consent is a way for, we could just, the DRC could just say, we highly recommend this. So perhaps if, to your point of, it'd be nice for the full board to see some of these projects. What we could do is, there's no reason why is there any reason why on consent there can't just be a quick review of the project before everybody votes, or is that defeat the whole purpose of it?
That's what we're doing right here, just putting on the regular agenda.
I think.
No, I mean, but without the expectation of there being 20 minutes of discussion about the project.
Only a staff summary.
Anyway,
Staff.
I'm pretty sure we've put projects of this scale on consent many times before.
I think I hear both. I understand, because I think, but I also recognize that, yes, we have had full agendas, and we're kind of like, where we can put projects that don't seem problematic, that we've at least had the DRC reviewed it, that those can go on the consent agenda so that we can kind of move on and get to other business. But I also understand what you're saying, Jerry. I just wonder though, there could be an option where we give an overview of all the things that are on the consent agenda, like a summary, but then again, it still kind of gets into, we have to present it, talk about it. So I guess it's a matter of, does the HLRB want to start seeing any kind of additions like this to come to discussion automatically? And then if we feel that when our agendas are starting to get full again, we don't have issues with them, want to go back, it's up to you and how you want to go with the policy.
Because I remember there was a time when I joined HLRB many years ago. There was a time when pretty much all projects came before HLRB, and we'd have meetings that go to 11:30, and it somewhat made the DRC redundant, because there was really no reason for a DRC to review the project, make a recommendation if the full board was going to go over the whole project again anyway, other than that they knew that the DRC say it liked it or didn't like it. And so at that point, I believe Kevin Vincent was the chair at the time, to show you how far back that was. And he proposed that we should just, make a policy of projects that did not have issues with them just go on consent, which is typical of most meetings when, not just HLRB, any commission. When you have something where there isn't an expectation of discussion, that it would just go on consent. On the other hand, I see what Jerry's saying, because it is nice, I think, for HLRB to see some of these things. I think this one in particular is a very well designed project, and it is what we should be seeing. I think the architect did a very good job, and it's a project that it should be commended anyway. So,
Thank you, for that.
Yeah, I just want to add to the discussion. I think Jerry made a good point, and I think Robert, you made good points as well. And I think the process as it's played out is exactly the way it should play out. If there's a member who wants to know more about it, he can move to put it on the discussion agenda, and that's just what we've done. And I don't think there's any.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with that.
I can read faster. I could try to do that.
Well, I just add a sentence at the end of why you made your recommendation.
Summarize more. So,
No,
but
I'm not
still
quite
it's
finished with my.
I'm sorry.
I have one other point I want to make, and I think this is a terrific project, and I don't have any objections to it. But I have a question about the simulated divided light windows. Is that something that's allowed by consent in Maywood?
We've been doing that for
We have,
20, 30, 20 years at least, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that's not my recollection, because I remember
Yeah,
discussions
that might be-
that,
you know,
we did not allow that specifically. I remember what,
Yeah. Yeah, the simulated divided lights are the ones that where.
I have them in my home, so I know.
Yeah, where you have the spacer bar between the mutton grid. And what we don't allow is where you just have the mutton grid without the space, you know, so that when you look into the gap, you just see air. But the simulated divided light, certainly from a distance, does not look any different than true divided light. And true divided light windows are very, very expensive. And as far as I know, I don't think we've seen a true divided light in, you know, on our agenda in far back as I can remember. I mean, we've always approved simulated divided light. That's,
It has it on outside too, right?
yeah, the
Outside,
mutton
inside,
grid is on
inside.
both, is
Yeah.
required to be on both sides. And there have to be spacer, those space, you know, in the insulated glass, you have to have the spacer bar behind that mutton grid so that it looks, when you look at it, it looks solid. It doesn't look hollow. And the technical reason for this is because in the old days, when you had true divided light, you were just holding up a piece of glass that was, you know, 1/8 of an inch thick. When you start introducing insulated glass, which is, you know, a 1/2 inch, maybe, you know, or, you know, 3/8, 1/2 inch, and they're heavier because it's 2 panes of glass plus the spacer bars and everything else. Then you have to beef up the muttons in order to hold all of this safely. And then the muttons get really thick. So most historic districts allow the simulated divided light because it allows you to keep the thinner muttons, which are appropriate to the historic district, and still allow insulated glass. So that's, I mean, as far as I know, that's been our policy for a long time.
Great, thank you.
So you said, Jerry, though, that the staff report, you felt that there wasn't enough of an explanation in the staff report for it to go on the consent agenda?
Yeah, my recollection is usually there's a reason for why it goes on the consent agenda, and there wasn't anything in this report, other than the DRC suggested it. And maybe, you know, in the staff report, you could say why it's on. I think this has typically been the case in the past where there's a reason why it's on the consent agenda. And so I looked for that reason and I couldn't find it because in the report, other than saying so I just thought that, you know, and also, I mean, I make 2 points. I think this is a substantial, I mean, especially with there's a lot of changes to the front of the house. It's just not an addition to the back of the house. It's not visible from the street. So frequently that's the reason why it goes on the consent agenda, because it's not visible from the street. But this is very visible. I do think it's kind of a model project also. And I think that it's a good idea for the full HALRB to see these types of projects. It's made me the question of what do you mean by small? And, you know, it's kind of a relative thing. I don't think this is a small project.
I agree. When I read it, that it was a rear addition and renovation, and then saw the dormers that changed what you see in the front, I was kind of like, oh, okay. So I can see that. I think it's definitely on the bigger edge of probably what would ever be on consent, just naturally because of all the things that have come up. Well, if no one has any more questions or comments. All right, so I'm gonna move that we approve item number 1, COA 26-03 at 2342 North Fillmore Street in the Maywood Local Historic District.
Second.
Call the roll.
Okay, please respond yes if you support the motion. Nathan Burlingame,
Yes.
Omari Davis,
Yes.
Nan Dreyer,
Yes.
Robert Dudka,
Yes.
Andrew Fackler,
Yes.
Greg Henley,
Yes.
Jerry Laporte,
Yes.
Katie Myers,
Yes.
Andy Winchell,
Yes.
and Dick Woodruff.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And thank you to the applicant for coming, and your motion was approved, so we'll be in touch with more details.
Yes, Eric, I'll send you an email tomorrow with any additional information. Other than that, thank you so much.
Great, thank you very much.
All right, so at this time, the public testimony is concluded for tonight's meeting. And I do not have chair's report, so that's included to staff.
Okay. Seeing that the agenda was a bit light, we wanted to take a couple minutes to go over some of the discussion that we had during the January meeting, specifically the great discussion that you all had concerning potential HLRB goals. And if you read the minutes, we said we would pull a summary together of that discussion as well as give you some recommendations to think about. So, so up on the screen is kind of a summary of the goals, the general goals that everybody talked about. Go to notes, we can talk about this a little bit. All right, so so as I mentioned, this is kind of a general understanding of what was all discussed. One of the main ones that everybody kind of went into was wanting to educate the public about historic preservation in Arlington via community outreach. We had at least 7 HLRB members highlight this idea. Several HLRB members want to share information about local historic district tools and process, how tax credits are available to properties on the National Register for historic properties and how to apply for them, and the importance of continuing to maintain existing NRHP districts. Another big suggestion was how to accomplish this goal, possibly speaking with civic associations and other community groups. It was generally felt that the HLRB could have stronger partnerships with other communities and county organizations. There was another suggestion that staff provide information to general contractors on how to work in historic districts. Another element, that second one, was preserving historic landscapes and creating stronger protections for trees. We had at least 4 HLRB members highlight this idea. So we think that, which was basically, I saw it as wanting to advocate, survey, and preserve those particular items. Number 3 was advocating for the preservation of more recent past architecture. That's kind of the phrase that's been going around for the past 3 decades, concerning properties that might be from 70s, 80s, 60s, used to be 60s, 60s, 70s, 80s. But recent past architecture as well as county infrastructure and features. We had at least 4 HLRB members highlight this idea. Few HLRB members highlighted the importance of mid-century architecture and wanting to advocate for that, as well as HLRB members highlighted that we should also consider preserving bridges, other county infrastructure like stone walls or other community beautification elements that's integral in the built environment. Number 4, celebrate the accomplishments of the HLRB and the HPP. We at least had 3 HLRB members highlight this idea. Specifically, was noted that the HLRB's 50th anniversary was approaching. We should celebrate this. Number 5, other ideas that were mentioned was the HLRB possibly visiting historic properties like local historic districts, various other projects to get hands-on preservation training. Number 6 is the idea of being more creative with educational interpretation, and that should be trying to come up with these creative options during certain county processes like site plan projects, something that goes beyond just historic markers. 7, identify incentives, the need to develop better incentives for preservation in the county. Some ideas were the idea of the creation of density bonuses, tax incentives, integration of Arlington's history and local museum spaces, support of legacy businesses, more archaeological studies. The other idea is creating more tools, the creation of different historic preservation tools, such as creating smaller local historic districts, advocating for preservation of historically Black neighborhoods that are losing their material culture, those types of projects, trying to find tools that work well for those initiatives. And then 8, recommending that the historic preservation program staff should try and educate other county departments on the importance of historic preservation and other various processes. So that's kind of the general summary of how the discussion went. Now, we want to give you a couple ideas. So with our recommendations, we think that some of this, we love structure here in the county. So one of the things we kind of want to advocate for is the fact that we do have the ability to do more subcommittees with the HLRB. So we think that the HLRB should identify specific subcommittees to work on these various goals. Our current subcommittees, as written in the HLRB bylaws, are the Design Review Committee, Historic Marker Committee, Survey and Research Committee, and the Outreach Committee. We currently do not have any members on the Survey and Research Committee or the Outreach Committee. And we know who our stars are on the Design Review Committee and the Historic Marker Committee. That's Jerry, Nan, and Carmela. For Outreach, which was a very big thing that was talked about during the last meeting, we think there is the idea of beginning in our own backyard, such as Maywood. We think that that is our most engaged local historic district, and we think that it would be really great to be able to attend a civic association together with staff, and we'd appreciate that support. That definitely was something that was talked about in the last meeting. But we think that beyond Maywood, we have our recommendation to meet with civic association presidents and other historic neighborhoods in Arlington first. I think John McNair can kind of talk about some of the experience we've tried in reaching out to different civic associations. And we think starting more with a conversation with, let's say, civic association president, I think would be a good beginning. So rather than attending a full meeting, we suggest a one-on-one approach. We also think that this is an opportunity where you can connect and learn about their community goals, see if the civic associations have committees that maybe focus on history, and if they get an idea of where they land on historic preservation, see what their goals are. For example, we think that the HLRB could, talk about how the HLRB has evolved over the years on certain projects, what the commission's role is within the county, and what the county currently has going for itself with its current historic preservation tools. We also think that the HLRB could share about the tools that we've identified in the Historic Cultural Resources Plan, and learn what the community thinks about those tools. We think that you could ask certain questions like, what are some of the community goals? Does it relate to historic preservation? What would be useful for them if a new tool was created? And then also understand maybe why they don't want to consider that at all. That's helpful information for us to have too. In short, we think that this could be kind of an introduction of yourself, HLRB, and share information about the historic preservation program, what preservation is in the county versus many of our other jurisdictions, so you can be a little bit different, but find out the community's perspective on preservation. And then we also identify, we think this can also be done through external internal partnerships. Arlington Historical Society has a preservation focus committee. At least we know that they did have that at one point. So someone could see if that still exists, make a connection with the group. We think a partnership like that would be really good. Also, there's the Arlington Neighborhoods Advisory Committee, also known as ARNAC. This is another group that the HLRB could connect with concerns to outreach. There are a number of neighborhood plans right now that are in the pipeline, either new or that are getting updated. And this could be a way that, you could connect with ARNAC and just kind of highlight different processes that we have in the county towards historic preservation. And then kind of the third big thing that we thought that we heard a lot during January was talking about preservation of recent past and historic landscapes. So we suggest the HLRB members interested in this goal work together via the survey subcommittee and brainstorm how to approach the preservation of those resources. Should there be a survey? Should we do research? Should it just be outreach to property owners? What historic resources would we be interested in preserving? So we think that these are just some of the suggestions that we have. There are a few HLRB members who have expressed an interest in taking the lead on some of these different goals. And we think that, our recommendation is that if you are still interested, that you can reach out to the chair and myself, and we can kind of help set up some structure on what this would look like.
Yeah, I think that would be great. It's great that we already have that kind of address things. So, I do have the names of everyone who's interested, but I'll let you also sign on for probably a little more additional work. Why don't you?
And I think the last thing kind of, we were talking as a team, trying to figure out how this could work. We saw this with the schedule, because we do have a little bit of a limitation. Because if there's more than 3 of you having one conversation via email or having a phone call or meeting, that then needs to become a public hearing, a public meeting. So that,
Can't that be split off as a? Not.
again,
Be subject to that rule.
I think if you have 3 meetings, you're gonna have to have a public meeting. That's just how it works. So if there is a subcommittee though, then we could figure out with our colleagues in the county to figure out like how to structure that, but it would almost have to be kind of the same way that the DRC meeting is set up. Now, that doesn't have to be at night, it could be during the day. It could be something where, or maybe there's an idea that we talk on a subcommittee once the full HLRB business is done, maybe a committee meets at the end of what's on the agenda. So there are a couple options, but I think we need to figure it out so that we're being compliant to the state regulations.
Maybe each subcommittee could have like a 2-person co-chair that kind of runs it with staff, and that way they can communicate with each other on the basics. Sort of get the thing going.
Okay. That's a good suggestion.
Is that
Can I ask one more question? Sure. How do you see the relationship between the members and the staff working in terms of the sort of assignment of responsibilities and so forth?
I think, I don't know exactly just yet, because I think it also depends on how, like if everybody right now, we activate all 4 subcommittees, it might be a bit overwhelming for us to manage. But I think it is more, we can support you through it, but I think we would really want you to kind of have the hands-on, do a lot of the hands-on work, support you. John and I have been talking a little bit about this because a lot of this is very much outreach focused. So John, that's his role. We want to also give you all the tools to make sure that your messaging is what we also do. So I think that there could be a bit of a heavy lift in the beginning, but then I would just see that as you all are extending the goals that we're trying to achieve the program. So I think it would make sense to do that heavy lift with the knowledge that, I mean, we're a team of 3, maybe we're going to be a team of 15. So that's kind of, I see that as a positive. So I think we just would have to kind of gauge it. And if we feel that maybe we can't support you all with the needs that you have with doing this, we're just going to have to let you all know if there's maybe a chance that we have to change our priorities for a little bit, maybe especially during different times here, it can get kind of heavy with our workload. So I think we're just going to have to gauge it.
Isn't the 3-person rule a function of the fact that we lowered the what's the word for the not majority, but the quorum rule to 5, so we only need 5, so that's why 3 people. We could think about I never thought raising the quorum to 5 was such a good idea.
3
anyway.
was a state law.
I think 3 is a state.
No, it's not. We changed our bylaws as a result of the state law. The state law said that certain rules applied. And so in order to comply with, it's the rules about, in-person meetings and stuff like that.
Yes, in-person meeting.
Yeah, and so we changed our bylaws to require a 5-person in-person quorum as a result of the state law. We could change our bylaws back to something other, we could say 6 or 7 and still get a quorum on a regular basis. And then we could have 3-person committees and wouldn't have to comply with the open meetings law.
I don't think the quorum law.
They're 2 different things, 2 different things I recall, yeah.
It's pretty set, it's pretty standard that anything beyond
Yeah,
2 people is a required open
I don't know if this is
state law.
100%, but ChatGPT is telling me that it's a FOIA requirement. So we should probably look into the reasoning of the
I
requirement.
know on the federal level, that's not true.
Yeah,
It's a
Virginia
state
FOIA
law.
requirement.
So it's not part of our bylaws. It's not per the state updates that we have to do every single year for in-person meetings. The quorum was changed. Not part of any of that. That was just purely an HALRB decision on how we wanted to manage our meetings and to make it easier for us to actually have our meetings. Great.
So just to clarify, it's 3 or more, or is it more than 3?
Three or more.
3 or more. So if each subcommittee was 2 members, they can do their business
Yes,
and then bring it to a larger group,
yes.
right? So it may be the way we label our committees. I mean, I'm a full believer in full sunshine, that our meetings should be public. But it's also not practical to just work out dates and times and who do you meet and when do you meet and all of that and convene a public meeting. So I just wonder if there are other subcommittees in the county government that have sorted this out and that have a way to function, to get their subsidiary functions done and brought to the larger groups in an efficient way, right? And still comply with all of the public interest concerns.
We can definitely look into that. I think that the key difference is that the HALRB is treated a little bit differently than other county
We have
commissions because there's regulatory requirements. So that might be why there's a
I see.
bit more structure to how we have to do things, but we can certainly look into it and ask questions.
But I think it might make sense that the outreach committee could be divided into the outreach civic association committee and the outreach partner, and they
Right.
could, they're
Like teams for all of that subcommittee.
right. And they would all eventually report back to the main body and it would all be documented, but and just functionally, the more people you have, the more complicated everything gets anyway, so.
But that's where they argues to set up 2 co-chairs and let them get started, right? And then these other
Right.
subsidiary
Sub
support task forces
subcommittee.
would be, the task forces would be there doing their thing and bring it all together.
No, I think it'll work. And I think 2 people is enough to meet with a neighborhood association president, for example. So those could all be done, probably 1 or 2 people at the committee. And then if it was actually a meeting, that might be an open public meeting. So I think, and then, we can always use time after the board meeting if there's a bigger discussion. So I think we can work it out no matter what.
Can you put your chairs?
Cool.
So say this is all good. I think this is a great beginning. What do you see as sort of step 1, step 2, and step 3 of, say, putting the outreach committee task force, what is it, a subcommittee to work? I mean, what are the steps to get it going?
I think, what if we're trying to break it up a bit, do you all want to just start thinking about how many subcommittees to the subcommittee you want to?
Task force.
Task force? Task force?
But just taking one as an example.
I mean, I think the good one is really just how we want to start communicating with the civic associations. I think that's a good one. You all had an idea of very specific ones that you wanted to reach out to. But I also think that it's important, there was definitely mentioned from some of our more veteran defenders that's been done in the past and hasn't been very fruitful. Now, I also am hesitant to go to a larger civic association meeting when you don't have something new to present. But I think that there is a new perspective that can at least be presented. So I think probably whoever is considered kind of like the main chairs as an outreach committee for civic associations, maybe that's the first one. And then that can have 2 members who start to just do those contacts with the presidents of the civic association, just be like, just want to have a conversation, just want to see if there's a history committee, has there been much interest? We'd like to just kind of have a dialogue and ask a couple questions. Maybe we can come to a meeting eventually, that kind of thing. So I think that that's probably the first one that is the easiest.
Would it be your expectation that a staff person would also go to the meeting?
I think that if since our suggestion is Maywood, and since we know that they've already asked for us to come and do a presentation, I think that we can do that one together. I think then when it starts to go to other ones though, again, with staff timing, I think that can be kind of the pilot. And I think that actually probably one of the hardest because they're so familiar with the HLRB. But then if you're starting to look at other ones like Lime Park, Lime Village, Cherrydale, Green Valley, if you want to start going to those, then you can just do that on your own.
Way better.
Do we know where the various members, what civic associations they belong to? Because, are we concentrated in a small area or are we kind of spread out across the county?
I'd have to look at our roster, but I'm sure you
Yeah.
can.
I think
Yeah, we can look it up.
Yeah.
easily.
That might be helpful.
That would be a good one too.
Maybe this is my old time being a bureaucrat, but I think what we need to set up first is some kind of a structure that we all understand and can be comfortable with. And maybe a way to start would be to have two people, work with staff as the subcommittee for outreach. And then they come up with kind of a plan. Maybe the plan is we'll start with Maywood, and this is the agenda we think we should cover as a model agenda for outreach. If those two individuals working with staff came up with that, and then ask the rest of us, do any of you live there? Or would any of you already know the people who live there? Would you be particularly interested in joining this outreach, this particular outreach, as not a member of the subcommittee, but as a member of HALRB that is an assistant to or a support for, or that volunteers their time to do the work with and for the subcommittee? And then those two people have kind of organized a structure that we can, the rest of us can fit into. And if any of us have an idea about a neighborhood to reach out to, or things that we think would go in such an agenda, they can share it with the two co-chairs of the subcommittee or with staff, and you all can consider putting it into those agendas. And maybe start with one like Maywood. And if anybody wants to join that or knows Maywood, I know we do, or has, their cousin is the head of the Maywood Association at this point, we can say, well, I'll support you on that. And here's what I can do. Then that work can proceed. And in a way that if any of us need to check in or see where we might fit in the outreach, that would be a place we could do it and a way we could do it. Is that overly organized, or would that be something like that would be helpful to me? Let me just say.
I do think setting up the structure makes sense. I think that would allow everybody to have a cheat sheet to look at. Somebody who's very familiar with our bylaws has told me that our subcommittees are appointed by the chair. So we would have to do that.
Yes.
So why don't we take these ideas, and the first thing we can kind of come up with is some structure for the outreach committee, and maybe leading up to the March meeting, we can try and get this to you ahead of time just to consider. We can talk to you about it, see if it makes sense, and maybe that's something we can talk about. This is what we're thinking. I don't want us to have to keep delaying it each month, but maybe we need to do just a little bit more lifting to figure out the structure.
We already know who wants to be on the outreach committee, right?
For the outreach, I mean, a lot of people said that they.
Yeah, I definitely know who was interested. I just don't, especially if we're looking for maybe two people who do a little bit more heavy lifting at the top.
You offered to be the lead.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
And if we're ready, we can just get on Maywood's next meeting agenda. It's not a problem.
Yeah. Well, and I do see Maywood, I agree it should be the first one, but I also think the reaching out to the presidents of the other associations could happen in conjunction with it.
Yeah.
Because Maywood will be much more interested in, the mechanism and the procedure, whereas like the other ones, it's more like,
Earlier.
yeah, it's just much broader and it's going to be a much different discussion. So I think if people are, excited about it, those can kind of go on parallel tracks. You guys are going to have to do with Maywood, I think.
Yeah.
than just reaching out to presidents. So, I mean, Dick, I know you're interested in, you know, if anyone else wants to be like the other co-chair.
Great,
let me know.
you sound really into it.
Well, I'm into it. I'm more interested in putting together kind of a script or an agenda, because I hear you over and over again saying, we have to have something to talk about when we go to these presidents, right? We can't just show up. And I agree with you. So I think we need to think through, what have we got to offer? You know, even if we go to them and say, here's a menu of 4 things that we can talk to you about. Where is your community on this? You know, are you in a big fever over tree canopy? Or are you in a big fever over losing your historic houses to McMansions? Is that what's overwhelming your neighborhood? And try to craft an agenda or have some items that would be responsive to each president when you go to the president and say, here's what we've got to offer. What do you think your community would like to hear or would benefit from? Because we don't want to go in there and be sent home again by them saying, you know, we're not interested in what you have to offer.
Yeah, we should have at least a list of topics.
Yeah,
Like one thing
exactly.
is, you know, what is the HLRB and what is the
Yeah,
historic preservation program? Another one is for the neighborhoods that are national historic districts, and we have quite a few, what that means.
Yeah.
Okay, and those, and for other neighborhoods, you know,
Neighborhoods under a lot of pressure, they have questions about how can you help us?
or how can you become a national register district if you want to? Okay,
Or what are the other options?
that's right.
I mean, I think if we have a menu,
Yes.
they'll say, yeah, that resonates with us. Right now, we're hearing from all of our citizens, and this is their concern. Those that adjoin the big corridor, you know, the 2 neighborhoods on the side of Clarendon, Virginia Square and Ballston, they're all in a fever about loss of parking and, you know, these big buildings that are going up on the margins, which is what was in the plan, no problem. But now it's a little uncomfortable. So where does the history fit into that, if at all?
It's more of a planning commission.
It is, but they're gonna ask us, how could you help?
We don't want to
The great thing is
pretend we're the planning commission.
Absolutely.
we have a plethora of presentations that cover a lot of this, as well as we do talking points all the time. So I think all of that
So
stuff.
this isn't new work for you.
It's not, no, but we can do a lot of copy and pasting very quickly. So we can pull some of that. And again, that's kind of the heavy lift that I'm thinking, because we also want to make sure that, you know, we want you to be prepared. So we can definitely have that pulled together. And I think as you are gauging what are the interests, kind of like what you're saying, if you have one civic association that has a lot of National Register historic districts in it, that may have a different discussion. Or if we're talking to, let's say, another neighborhood where their history is usually not highlighted in a lot of our program and our history information. So that might be something that we then talk about. So we can definitely tailor it. But right now, we're curious to see what we might be able to do tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I read this as we have the committees, we have the 4 standing committees, they're already here. And then the shall be appointed by the chair is appoint people to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Well, 2 of the committees are fully functioning.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So I guess, I mean, we could do this if you'd like to be appointed to the committee tonight, so we can get started, then we could do that. And yeah, and then people who aren't here, because I know there's a couple people who are interested and aren't here, we can always add more members.
Just order them t-shirts. They're ready to go.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Does
Okay, so-
anybody else want to, I
Yeah,
tell you
and
what
if
would also be
there's no-
very
There's
helpful.
no limit to the number.
The list that we have from last meeting, people that said they were interested, it
Yeah.
would be wonderful to do a reach out to them. And I could do that by email and say, what particularly would you like to work on? Because what the 2 of us are going to need, if we're the 2, is to have everybody else kind of weigh in on the things that you all know a whole lot more about, right? And are better spokespeople for.
Well, I'm gonna go out on a whim and say that Dick and Gray are interested in being appointed to the committee. If I would appoint you, would you accept that appointment?
Yes.
Or do we need to do a motion?
I don't think we have to do a motion. I think you just appoint.
All right.
You did.
I hereby appoint.
If I'm wrong, I will
No.
let you know, but right now. we
But
don't
what's
have
us as our expert?
But if anyone else would like to be on the
None,
committee,
none.
you know, the more the merrier, I think, especially as we start actually like meeting with people. So
Anybody else?
think about it. You can email me or you can.
Well, you have a list of people.
We have,
Yes.
yeah, we have a list of who is
Yeah.
interested, so I can definitely give that information to you all. And we also, again, it's not
Yeah.
hidden, it's in the minutes, which I know you all read cover to cover. So, we can definitely identify who that was. And then also those who aren't here tonight, give them the opportunity to read.
And some people might have thought it's a great idea. Now or want to
That's
meet with all these. versions. So email me if you would like to also become part of the committee. And thank you guys for taking this on. I think it's going to be awesome. Yeah, and I definitely like to help with at least outreach to my own neighborhood, if not more, if that's appropriate. All right, do we have a little bit more in staff report?
A little bit more, because I don't want to.
Yeah.
What about the other committee?
Oh, were we gonna do that one too?
I mean, survey and research committee, so,
Okay, we are moving right along.
Because they have a cool job. They have a cool responsibility down there toward the end.
All right. And we
The
were
survey
thinking
and-
the survey and research committee could be not like landscape trees and recent past, like
I mean,
researching it, like is that?
well, I think the question that we were kind of wondering, like, yeah, is it just researching it? Is it trying to come up with recommendations? Is it be, there is many angles that you could take with this.
Could be literal survey too. Stuff like it could be, you go get the historic resource.
Well, and then I think that particularly the area that I was interested in, which has to do with some of the infrastructure things, since these are presumably owned by the county, there's going to be an interface with whoever the appropriate department of the county is, because there may be pushback from the county. So we're, it's experience, the county isn't always enthusiastic about some of these things. So there definitely would have to be some interface with the county just to.
Well, it almost sounds very similar to the outreach. There's different angles. So maybe someone who is interested more in trying to preserve the tree canopy may not be as interested in the infrastructure preservation project. So knowing that, again, we got the names of the people who were interested.
Well, can I make a suggestion? Because are those 4 committees? They're just committees that existed in the past. There's no reason we couldn't form additional committees, right?
Well, they are in the bylaws.
Oh, they are,
You know,
okay,
when we change the bylaws, it is quite a process.
okay.
So
Okay, so
I
it's
think-
better to fit them
Yeah.
underneath.
Better to fit them.
Okay,
That's
then you
already-
could have some, because I was gonna say the tree preservation thing is really its own subject. And I think half the members of the HRB expressed interest in that topic the last time. And so perhaps that then just simply becomes a subcommittee to committee.
And I think it's fair that, looking into the tree canopy, how it relates to historic preservation, historic districts, our neighborhoods is, fair game for a survey and research committee.
There's an organization called the Tree Stewards of Arlington that could be contacted or partnered with on that issue, because that's basically what they do.
Other people like, our neighborhood planted a bunch of trees. I don't know if they're the same group for each of the free.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, is that something you're interested in being on? Or do you want to think about it?
Well, I'm interested. Let's see, I'm interested in both the infrastructure and the trees, so.
Yeah. Well, I think we're thinking that the survey and research committee would look into, I think the 3 big ones were tree canopy, infrastructure, and then the recent past architecture, which I know maybe isn't, your area of interest, but if someone else on the committee has that area of interest, you guys can kind of silo yourself.
What's your
I
interest?
think the trees and infrastructure could be umbrellaed under the same underlying cultural landscapes. I think they kind of work together.
No, I'm not,
Yeah.
it's in the bylaws, having the 4 committees already existing makes sense to just try to fit them underneath.
Yeah.
So that we don't have to create a whole nother thing, but but there's no reason why there can't, underneath the umbrella of the larger committee, there can't be subcommittees
That's right.
that do for people who are interested in those specific things. And it may actually work with this, this two-member rule, because you can have two people who are in charge of the overall committee and then two people who are in charge of each of the different,
Task forces.
like to use your word, right?
Maybe you would like to send us a Google form or something with all the subtopics and get a sense of what specific.
Yeah, who's interested in what?
I would love to use
I mean,
Google
I-
form, but I don't think we're
Yeah.
allowed to use Google forms. But what I can do,
How about Survey Monkey?
we can go old school and we'll just send an email and
Yeah.
we can just kind of put that together. And you could, again, we have an idea of who said they were interested in what, and maybe we can break it down. But if there's one person who's interested, very motivated, maybe that is a nice way to get it started.
I mean, the people who are in charge of the survey and research committee kind of get to direct where it goes first.
You know who those mysterious people are?
Yeah,
What?
yeah,
What people?
yeah. I mean,
Mysterious
we know
people.
Robert is very interested in the tree canopy,
Robert.
And the infrastructure.
and the infrastructure.
On the recent past.
Recent passes Omari.
They both happen to be on the DRC, so.
Yeah,
but you
well-
So
can't-
we're already on a committee.
But then
again-
again, both, but that's like a lot of commitment.
Can we discuss
Any-
recent past of our DRC?
Recent past.
I was interested in recent past.
I think also you could look at it as, do you necessarily need to do meetings? You may not need to, if you have just two people, and then you have the task force format. You may not have to, it may just again be a way that you can start working towards those subjects, but may not add too much more to your calendar with what meetings you're going to. But preserving landscapes, trees, and infrastructure is Amari, Dick, Robert, Katie. And then preserving recent past architecture is Amari, Andrew, Ray.
Yeah, but I don't want to do that if I'm doing the other. It's real important to me, but so I'll help out.
But not that.
Wait, can you just repeat what you just said?
Sure. So for preserving landscapes, tree canopy, preserving infrastructure, we had Amari, Dick, Robert, and Katie as the most vocal. And then preserving recent past architecture was Amari, Andrew, and Ray.
This is only from last week. Last month. It's not set in concrete.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
Just want to know who I need to.
Yeah, I think,
So I
that- I
can-
mean, I think this survey, and committee, I don't know if it'd be that big of a, it is what you want to make it. I don't think it. But, you were talking that if someone's really interested in a topic, it might. Have to move further, have to do some research and then bring it up for discussion. Because I think a lot of the discussion items people suggested are great, but, we don't have the capacity to have staff always about discussion. So I think that's more just ask. That committee.
So, like, for instance, let's say I was interested in the same box. I assume that the one way to proceed would be to just have a meeting with staff, just to say, okay, who needs to be talked to? Who in the county needs to be communicated with? How does that all proceed? Because I suspect most of that is, I'd be happy to do some of the research and on the survey. And mostly in the terms of photography, locations and things like that. Although, an exhaustive survey would be difficult, but just driving around, today I saw on some Quincy, there was just a whole lot of really nice stone walls. But the real issue is who in the county is responsible for those. And also what got me interested in it was the fact that the one that was across the street from me was demolished, even though it was on county property without any public notification or ability to comment. It's just something that the county and the developers work out. And so that would need to be addressed. And that's actually what I'm interested in is
The county does have,
I might be that task force, yes.
The county at least used to have a notable tree program of some
They
sort.
do,
That's
so.
Yeah, there's,
that's still going on.
I think the tree stewards work with those champion trees.
Yeah,
It's pretty.
but I mean, that's a place to
Yeah, they
start
don't
at
do
least.
They don't do anything that is in opposition to any property owner wants.
Yeah, my understanding is the notable trees, unless the owner nominates it.
That's what Dick was saying.
It's just like historic preservation. We tend to wait till an owner nominates it. We don't take it upon ourselves to nominate somebody's property that doesn't want it. And the problem, is that I've seen in our neighborhood is that there are notable trees that were chopped down, and the developer obviously is not interested in having them, having them designated as a notable tree. And so the question then becomes, how is the county going to look at this? And I think that's one of the
Well,
issues that the Tree Preservation Committee, whatever, task force,
The answer to that
is
is
concerns itself with.
that with the political situation the way it is in Richmond now, with the Democrats in charge of the entire state government, there is never going to be a time that's more propitious than now for Arlington to get some state awarded authority to deal with trees, to get, because right now, Arlington County now always stands behind the fact that they don't have the authority under state law to do what we want them to do, whether it's trees or, gas powered leaf blowers or any of that stuff. They don't have the state authority. And the last time I had a conversation with a member about trees, he brought in the county lobbyist, and the county lobbyist talked about the various communities in the state that were trying to get the tree preservation piece of legislation passed in Richmond. There just weren't enough votes down in Richmond to get it done, but now there is.
Right. So
And the county we need help. If we want to protect trees and be real about it in the county, what we need to do is get the county itself to go to Richmond and try and get it done.
Maybe join with other counties and cities.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
get the
Exactly.
Definitely the big one.
the a lot of times tree preservation stands alone as tree preservation, but I think, aligned with historic preservation, it gives just another argument as to why trees should be preserved. Because I think usually people think of it in terms of, it's green, it absorbs CO2 or whatever each individual's perspective is. But I think that historic preservation is not often on that list, and it should be.
Right.
Well, the
That's-
example-
I mean, that's our entree to the issue for sure.
And the example of the battlegrounds that have been used and the landscape protections that have been used in surrounding counties to great effect as a history that needs to be protected, a landscape history that needs to be protected, and therefore you can't build your big data centers there.
So I appreciate all of the discussion we're having, but I don't think we can figure out the format
Sure.
as much. I think this is all good ideas that whoever wants to be part of that task force can start to think of these things to figure out what the options are. So
Great.
I don't know if we came through with identifying someone who would be appointed to the survey and research committee, but maybe, again, we don't have to do it tonight. You can put your name to Katie and figure it out there.
what does everyone think on it? Email me if you want to kind of take the lead on that. Yeah, but lots of progress made. All right, let's move on.
So that was it for me, but I'd like Michael to go into anything that she's working on. I'd like John to go into anything he's working
I'll go first. I'll be really quick. So a couple things I wanted to update everybody on. I have been working on a few updates to our easement program. So one of them, these seem rather small, but one of them is to have our easements on our actual county maps, which we didn't have before. So that went live last week. So it's on both our internal maps and external, so everybody can see where our easements are located, which is fantastic. The other update that we're currently working on is doing a major overhaul of our easement webpage because it's a little sad. So we wanted to improve it and have some more information about how to become an easement, what does it mean to be an easement, and what a little bit more information about the easement properties that we currently have. So that will be forthcoming. But the other thing to note about our easements is that I'm going to be conducting our annual inspections of all of our easement properties in the spring. So right now we've got 14. More will be added when we have Barcroft having their easements recorded. So on that topic, I am continuing to work with the Gyre Lynch team on the process of recording all those various easements for the Barcroft apartments. So more to come on that in the near future, but we will have an inflation of number of easements once we get those settled. The other thing I wanted to note is about some site plan projects. We do have quite a few that I'm working on, that we as a team are working on right now. But there are two I wanted to highlight that have HALRB representatives on. The first one is the Dominion Arms site plan project. That's at 333 South Glebe Road. And Rebecca is going to serve as the HALRB rep for that project. That first SPRC meeting has not been scheduled yet, but once it is and she attends, she'll be able to provide an update to you all on what was discussed. The second project is still preliminary. It has not gone active yet, so they're still kind of figuring out how to get to that stage. But that project is the VHC Carlin Springs project. That's at 601 South Carlin Springs Road. And Andrew is going to serve as the HALRB rep for that one. So again, still more coming on that one, but once that gets started, Andrew will provide any updates on that. I do have a couple other projects that are coming down the pipeline, so I will be reaching out to see if any of you can participate on some site plan review committees or some long range plan committees. And if anybody has any questions about any of the projects that are ongoing, you know, site plan projects, use permit projects, lab studies, you can always find more information on those on our website, on the county's website. If you just type in private development, it has a full list of every single site plan project that is going on right now. So that is all that I have at the moment. So, John?
I have a question.
Sure.
Isn't the VHC site the site where we have the historic marker with Moses Ball's well?
Yep.
So I think it's very important that we have HALR, very active HALRB. I'm hoping, because if you go back there, it's almost been parking lotted over. And I think it would be great if they could plan that in a way that we could retain Moses Ball. It's a spring, actually.
Yep, it's a spring.
And it's not been well taken care of historically. Got to pay close attention to that.
Yeah, Lauren and Michael and I had a long discussion about how we can go about handling some of it. So as it comes up, I'll keep everyone updated. But yeah,
But
I do.
Recommend opening the spring run again and have it right flow down.
Yeah, and just how to address, like, you know, it's not an HLRB site, but it's clearly historic and important to the community. How can we like make this work? So yeah.
A couple items for HPP outreach coming up. So first off, just a reminder, we will be participating in Field Heritage Festival this weekend. It's gonna be Saturday, February 21st from noon to 5 p.m. You will be able to find the HPP table in the Hall of History. So come check it out, say hi. If we miss you, still come by because that's a lot of fun. Again, just a reminder that is coming up. Now, next week, as a small aside, I'm going to be giving a small talk to the Northern Virginia Community College's Historic Preservation class. They have a digital history project coming up that actually coincides with some of the work that HPP and the Marker Subcommittee did on the Queen City marker last year. So just one of the exciting ways that our marker project is actually furthering further research into historic Arlington, and ways that those markers can kind of take on a life of their own, lead to new developments in public history. So very excited to keep that partnership with Northern Virginia Community College going. I'm also going to be participating in a couple committees coming up for historic recognition of a couple different events. So right now we have been tapped to help with the upcoming Pride commemoration, that will be June, as well as the 25th anniversary of September 11th, which will be coming up much later in the year. Right now, there is nothing to report for either of those events, but we will keep the HALRB posted as new developments come up. We're going to end, as always, with Arlington, Virginia 250th, which I will hand off to Nan. But before I do that, do we have any questions about some of those other outreach programs? Right, Nan?
Okay, so Arlington 250 planning is continuing under the auspices of the Arlington Historical Society. There will be various events, but the one maybe most relevant to the HALRB, speaking of people interested in outreach, is the May Fest, which is coming up, or the History Fest. It's coming up on Saturday, May 9th. There are going to be a lot of different activities that they're looking for volunteers for, but HPP will have a booth that will benefit from volunteers, and that might be an opportunity to talk to members of the community who may be there doing some of the different activities. And there are all they're going to have, performers and crafts and other sorts of things. But I think the exact details of what will happen at the meeting are as yet uncertain and might depend on what seems desirable or needed when time gets closer. But if you're interested, you can definitely let John know. Oh, and I forgot to say the Virginia State has this mobile museum, which is in a semi, I think, but it's traveling around the state, and it's going to come to the History Fest in May, and it will be parked there for 3 days. So yeah, added attraction. I think it's going to have some artifacts and interpretation and stuff like that.
All right. Can I just ask staff, the historic survey for the Melwood project, is that just where it is?
We are really close to completing it.
Oh,
So we will then be sharing that with we're not there yet, but the zoning ordinance, where we're trying to share that with the property owner as well as the Aurora Pacific Association. And right now we are gauging that will come to the HLRB in March.
congratulations. That's
Nothing.
wonderful.
Not confirming,
Okay, well, that's great.
nothing can happen from now.
It's way different than
until
I
we have it
expected.
post. Right now, that's what we're.
And can I ask, do you know anything about whether that project is going forward or not? Or trying to go forward?
I don't really know at this time.
Okay,
But-
so we're still treating our responsibility as rather urgent. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Thank you, everybody. Meeting adjourned.
Great.
Think they will. But I don't know if that's.
Yeah.
Well, things about their money.
Yeah. I'll stay in a little bit.
I'm not-
Okay, sir.
Yeah,
We
I
should
just.
have a